Facebook to wanting to find a more sustainable strategy. And the reason why is simply because social summits don't really do what they used to. It's really interesting when you look at the history of online marketing, and we can see that there was a huge spike in the amount of online summits and events that people were putting on around 2020 through 2022. And obviously we can attest a lot of this to the impact of the pandemic when everybody was online. But the reality is, as we've gone past the 2020 to 2022 bubble and it has essentially burst, the concept of running free virtual summits and events has really gone down. Yet for whatever reason, there's still a lot of folks out there pushing and promoting this strategy with the hard-head belief that they are profitable. And when we look at the stats, when we look at the data, it's just not true. For the majority of online businesses and for online business owners, running online virtual summits is more expensive and more time consuming than it is actually beneficial. In reality, the majority of people who are spending hours and hours and hours prepping for these events behind the scenes, including things such as creating the actual pages for it, the sign up process, the reminder process, getting other speakers to engage with it, coordinating, managing, running the event, we're talking hundreds of hours that go into running these free events. And half of the time, the people that you're getting into these events aren't even interested. Are the show rates really low? Or they're not even really actually buying anything? It used to be the belief that running online summits or free events was a great way to try to cross-pollinate or to marry different audiences from different people. But the reality is most folks are just tired of showing up for these things because they know that more than likely it's just going to be a pitch fest of different creators and business owners sharing about how great they are and what they have to offer. And I think people are just getting tired. Not only do we have massive fatigue from the 2020 to 2022 bubble, but I think folks are also just tired of having to have their time wasted by showing up for these events where they really don't get the value that they were hoping for. I think more now than ever, folks are starved for in-person connection and people want answers fast. They don't want to sit around and listen to somebody share their life story for hours on end if they don't really have any sort of vetted interest in who this person is or how they can help them. So what do we do instead if the idea of running free online summits and free events isn't actually working? Well, that is a great question, and here's the answer. My biggest advice for somebody who has been doing these free online summits or big events, trying to build your business in this way, but not really making any profit, is to actually take a giant step back and get clear on, number one, what it is you're actually offering. I think one of the biggest reasons behind the people who are putting on these massive events and not actually seeing any ROI is simply because there's a mismatch between what you're offering and who you are marketing to. Usually we can identify this pretty quickly in just looking at the actual data. Are you getting new people into your audience? And if you are the people not buying? If people aren't buying but they're coming into your audience, then that's a clear indicator that there's something going on between your offer and the people that are coming in, which is usually an easy fix. But if you are having an issue with actually bringing new people into your audience, meaning you're not actually really growing your list, you're not actually getting new clients, and you're not actually having new people come into your world, this is a conversation around marketing and lead generation. And the issue with this is that if you're solely focusing on Instagram and Facebook and constantly pushing new content, you're never actually building a long-term strategy for yourself or your business, which is one of the biggest problems for most business owners today. Instead of constantly creating these huge online summits that are both time expensive and financially expensive, you can start to refocus your efforts on using the same ideas of collaboration and doing interviews with other professionals, and instead turn those into evergreen pieces of content that can be reused and repurposed either in blogs or YouTube videos that drive traffic to your brand for years on end. And this doesn't necessarily mean that all of the years that you've wasted on all of these other pieces of content has to go to waste, but what it does mean is you get to be a lot more strategic and intentional about how you're going about these things. You can still have the same intention and have the same goal in mind, but the way you go about it can be different. You can turn these summits into things like podcasts or YouTube videos or blogs where folks can continue to search for the answers that are inside of this and pull the content that you actually feel is most valuable and valid and of course, have a more legitimate strategy behind the way that you structure your site and your content so that people can come into your offer. My biggest suggestion, if you're here today and you made it to the end of this video, is to really rethink what you're doing in your business and how you're going to be marketing in 2025. Instead of continuing to focus on the things and hoping that if you do more of it, or if you do more of it faster or bigger or better, that it's going to start to work, is instead to really look at the data and see, are people actually buying? And if they're not, how do we make it easier for people to buy, and start to set yourself up for the long term instead of continuing to keep yourself stuck in the organic social media hamster wheel. If you enjoyed this piece of content, please be sure to hit subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and if you have questions, as always, feel free to comment down below. We'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos.